The afternoon sun in Abin's village beat down with a relentless, golden intensity, baking the red earth into a fine, powdery dust. 10-year-old Ada Oranaji, or Ada as she was affectionately called, wasn't bothered by the heat. Her fingers, nimble and quick, danced across the parched ground beneath the shade of a sprawling iroko tree. She wasn't playing with pebbles or chasing lizards. She was sketching. With a twig as her pen and the dusty earth as her canvas, intricate patterns emerged, flowing lines, delicate drapes, and bold silhouettes that defied the simplicity of her surroundings. These weren't random doodles. They were dresses, gowns, and outfits born from a vivid imagination that saw beauty in every leaf and shadow. A harsh cough shattered her concentration. Ada Ora! Ada flinched, quickly sweeping her hand across the ground, erasing her ephemeral creations. Papa Naji stood over her, his shadow long and imposing. He was a man carved from stern conviction, a retired school principal whose every word resonated with the weight of unyielding expectations. He clutched a well-worn copy of a legal textbook, its spine cracked from frequent use, not by him, but by Ada's older sister, Chica. "What are you doing playing in the dust like a common village child?" His voice was a low rumble, laced with disappointment. "Have I not told you countless times? This art, this frivolousness, will get you no way. You need to focus on your studies, on a real career." Ada's throat tightened. "But Papa, this is my study. I learn about shapes, about how fabrics fall." Papa Naji scoffed, a sound that punctured Ada's fragile confidence. "Fabrics? Fall? Child, you talk as if you are destined for some grand stage. Life in Abins is not a stage. It is about diligence, about security. Look at your sister, Chica. She is studying law, a barrister in the making. That is a profession of substance, of respect, not drawing dresses on the ground." He gestured vaguely at the spot where her designs had been moments before. These are distractions. They are for children who have nothing better to do. You are better than this, Ada Ora. You have potential, if only you would channel it towards something meaningful. Later that evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Papa Naji, Mama Naji, Chica, and their younger brother, Emeka, the conversation inevitably veered towards Ada's supposed shortcomings. Chica, her sleek hair pulled back in a severe bun, punctuated her sentences with sharp, precise gestures, just like the lawyers she admired. "Honestly, Papa," Chica began, eyeing Ada across the wooden table, "Ada still wastes her time with those sketches. I thought she would have outgrown that phase by now. I remember telling her last year, 'Ada, you should try teaching, like Papa, or nursing. Something stable.'" Emeka, ever eager to align himself with the winning side, snickered. "Yeah, Ada, who's going to hire someone to draw clothes in the village? Are you going to open a tailor shop?" His tone was mocking, not inquisitive. Ada's fork clattered onto her plate. "It's not just drawing, Emeka. It's design. It's about creating something beautiful and unique." "Beautiful and unique?" Chica scoffed, her laughter thin and brittle. "Ada, be realistic. This isn't Lagos, let alone Paris. We are in Abins. Dreams like that are for foreign movies, not for us. You need to focus on something practical, something that puts food on the table, not just pretty pictures." Mama Naji, a woman of quiet strength who often found her voice silenced by her husband's pronouncements, stirred her agu soup. Her eyes, however, met Ada's across the table, a fleeting look of empathy that offered a flicker of warmth in the cold reception of her family. But she said nothing, her hands continuing to serve the meal. Ada felt a familiar ache in her chest, the sting of being misunderstood, of having her deepest passion dismissed as childish fantasy. It was a constant battle, and she often felt like she was fighting it alone. The dim glow of a single kerosene lamp cast long, dancing shadows across Ada's small room. The air was thick with the scent of fabric and late-night dreams. While the rest of the Naji household slept, Ada, then 15, was hunched over a worn piece of faded ankara, her small, sharp scissors gliding through the fabric with practiced ease. She had found the anchor in a discarded pile at the market, a remnant too small for most tailors but a treasure to her. With painstaking precision, she was transforming it into a delicate blouse, a design she had meticulously sketched in a hidden notebook. Her sewing machine, a clunky, hand-cranked model she had secretly saved up for from odd jobs, hummed softly, a comforting lullaby in the quiet night. Each stitch was a whisper of hope, a defiant act against the chorus of doubts that echoed in her ears during the day. This was her sanctuary, her true classroom, where her imagination was the only tutor. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Ada froze, her heart leaping into her throat. Papa Naji stood silhouetted in the doorway, his eyes narrowed, catching the flicker of the lamp and the movement of her hands. He hadn't just walked in. He had been standing there, watching her, the heavy scent of his disapproval already filling the room. Ada Wara! His voice boomed, startlingly loud in the pre-dawn stillness. What is this nonsense? Still at these wretched rags? He stormed into the room, his gaze falling upon the half-finished blouse and then the pile of fabric scraps neatly folded in a corner, her precious, secret stash. He grabbed a handful of the colorful fabrics, his grip tightening. You waste your time, you waste your energy, and you waste our resources on these rags. His voice rose, laced with a familiar, searing anger. I send you to school, I pay for your books, and you sneak around like a thief, sewing these worthless things at night. Ada scrambled to her feet, her voice trembling. Papa, please, it's not worthless. I'm learning. I'm practicing. One day, I can make a living from this. A living. He laughed, a short, bitter sound devoid of humor. From these, you'll never go anywhere with these rags. This is not how a serious person behaves. This is a distraction from your true purpose. Do you want to be a common tailor, haggling for pennies in the market? Is that the legacy I, your father, a retired principal, have prepared you for? He gestured wildly, his anger escalating. Look at this. This is childishness. This is poverty of ambition. With a sudden, violent motion, Papa Naji seized her fabric stash, yanking it from the shelf where she had meticulously organized it. The fabrics, some bright, some subtly patterned, tumbled to the floor like scattered jewels. He then grabbed the half-sewn blouse, tearing it from her grasp. No! Ada cried out, her voice a raw plea. Please, Papa, no. But he was beyond reasoning. With a guttural roar, he ripped the delicate fabric, the sound of tearing cloth echoing like a gunshot in the small room. He continued, systematically shredding the pieces of ankara, laces, and cottons she had painstakingly collected, letting them fall in a ruined heap at her feet. Ada watched, tears streaming down her face, her hands clutched to her mouth to stifle a sob. Each tear, each rip, felt like a tear in her own soul, a brutal assault on her burgeoning dreams. The air in the room was no longer thick with the scent of fabric, but with the bitter odor of shattered hope and paternal disapproval. Papa Naji stood panting slightly, his face red with exertion and indignation, convinced he had just saved his daughter from a foolish path. For Ada, it felt like the world had just ended. She was left standing amidst the ruins of her creations, feeling utterly, terrifyingly alone. Chika Naja's arrival from Lagos was always an event. She swept into the house, a whirlwind of designer handbags, crisp legal pronouncements, and an air of metropolitan sophistication that made Abins feel even smaller. This time, she had just completed her final year of law school, and the village buzzed with whispers of her imminent call to the bar. Papa Naji beamed with pride, Mamai Naji hovered with quiet deference, and Emeka trailed after her like a fascinated puppy. For Ada, it was a familiar dread. The family dinner was a celebratory affair, but for Ada, it felt more like an interrogation. Chika, looking resplendent in a tailored dress and expensive jewelry, held court at the head of the table. Papa Naji recounted Chika's academic achievements, punctuating his stories with proud nods. And Chika, tell us again about your final year project, Papa Naji urged, his eyes glowing. Chica smiled, a practiced, almost professional smile. Oh, Papa, it was quite challenging. I focused on environmental litigation, specifically the impact of oil spills on local communities. The research was extensive, but I believe the findings will be impactful. Impactful? Papa Naji echoed, looking pointedly at Ada. That is the word. Real impact, not drawing imaginary dresses in the sand. Ada stiffened, her appetite vanishing. She knew this was coming. Speaking of which, Chica turned her sharp gaze on Ada, her voice dripping with mock concern. Ada, are you still dabbling in your little hobby? I heard you're helping Mama with the market stall now. That's good. At least you're doing something productive. Ada put down her spoon, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm not just dabbling, Chica. I'm learning tailoring techniques, understanding fabric. I'm trying to refine my designs. She hoped her passion would shine through, but Chica's expression remained impassive. Refine your designs. Chica's eyebrows arched, a picture of polite incredulity. Ada, let's be frank. You're 20 years old. Most of your age mates are either in university or already working, building a future. You're still dreaming about designs in a village where most people can barely afford new wrappers. It's childish. And quite frankly, it's becoming embarrassing. Emeka chuckled, nudging Ada with his elbow. She thinks she's going to be a fashion designer, Chica. Like those people on TV. Exactly. Chica exclaimed, snapping her fingers as if Ada had presented a brilliant, albeit delusional, concept. Those people have connections, funding, education from prestigious schools. What do you have, Ada? A few scraps of fabric and a head full of fantastical notions. No offense, but you're not going to conquer the world from a bins with a needle and thread. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a condescending whisper that carried clearly across the table. Look, Ada, I care about you. Papa and Mama have sacrificed so much. It's time to be realistic. Go learn a proper trade. Get a certificate. Become a teacher, a nurse, even a skilled seamstress in a big market. Something that gives you dignity, a stable income. This hobby, it's not a path. It's a dead end. You're becoming jobless and childish, and it reflects poorly on all of us. Ada felt the heat rush to her face, a mix of shame and furious indignation. The words felt like physical blows. But I have ideas, Chica. Ideas that are different, unique. If I just had a chance. A chance. Chica cut her off with a dismissive wave. Life doesn't hand out chances, Ada. You create them through hard work, through making sensible choices, like I did, not by indulging in childhood fantasies. Papa Naji nodded sagely. Chica speaks wisdom. Ada Aura, listen to your sister. She has seen the world beyond this village. She knows what is real. Mama Naji, usually silent, shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her gaze flickering between her two daughters. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but then closed it, a sigh barely audible. Ada met her mother's eyes, a silent plea for understanding, for defense, but Mama Naji simply looked away, her face etched with a familiar resignation. Ada felt a profound sense of isolation. Even her mother, the one person who occasionally offered a sliver of solace, remained silent in the face of such relentless scorn. It was a clear message. Her dreams were not just dismissed, they were actively ridiculed, and she stood alone against the tide of her family's expectations. The market was a vibrant symphony of sounds and smells, the shouts of vendors, the rhythmic thud of mortars pounding yam, the sweet scent of ripe mangoes mingling with the pungent aroma of dried fish. Ada sat beside Mama Naja's stall, meticulously folding wrappers, her mind, however, miles away, designing an elaborate bridal gown in her head. The sting of Chica's words still lingered, a constant, dull ache. Ada, you look like someone poured cold water on your head, a cheerful voice exclaimed. Ada looked up to see Ngozi, her childhood best friend, weaving through the throng of people, a bright smile on her face. Ngozi was a whirlwind of positive energy, a stark contrast to Ada's quiet nature. She was the only one who truly understood Ada's passion, the one who didn't dismiss her dreams as May whims. Ngozi, Ada managed, a weak smile touching her lips. It's nothing. Nothing? Your face is longer than a market day, Ngozi teased, then her expression softened. She squatted beside Ada, her voice dropping conspiratorially. Is it Chica again? That one's tongue is sharper than a newly honed cutlass. Ada sighed, nodding. She said I was childish, embarrassing, that my dreams are a dead end. Ngozi frowned, her eyes flashing with a familiar indignation. She talks like she knows everything. Just because she studied law doesn't mean she understands what is in your heart. Your designs, Ada, they are beautiful. They are unique. I have seen them. They are not rags. Done. Ada's eyes welled up. But what can I do, Ngozi? Papa destroyed my fabrics. I have no machine. Every time I try, they tell me it's useless. Ngozi reached out and squeezed Ada's hand firmly. You are not useless, Ada or Anaji. And your dreams are not useless. The problem is not with your dreams, it's with their understanding. They are blind. She paused, then her eyes lit up with a mischievous spark. You know what? I have an idea. She glanced around to make sure Mama Naji was busy with a customer. Remember that old woman, Aya Sakura, who used to sew by the stream? She moved to the city last month. I heard she sold all her old things. Ada looked at her, a flicker of hope amidst the gloom. What are you saying? I'm saying, Ngozi leaned closer. I went and checked. She had an old sewing machine, a foot-powered one. Not fancy, but functional. And I bought it. Ada's jaw dropped. You bought it? How? Why? Ngozi just grinned. I saved up some money from helping my auntie at her pepper stall. It's not new, it's not grand, but it works. And it's yours. A gift. Because your talent is too big to be kept down by anyone. Ada stared at her, tears blurring her vision. Ngozi, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Ngozi interrupted, her voice firm but gentle. Just listen. My grandmother always said, if no one claps for you now, you clap for yourself. You have to be your own biggest cheerleader, Ada. You have to believe in your vision, even when everyone else is blind. This machine, it's not just a machine. It's your start. It's your silent clap. Later that evening, after the market closed, Ngozi led Ada to her small, shared room. Tucked away in a corner, covered by an old cloth, was the sewing machine. It was indeed old, its metal frame dull, its foot pedal worn smooth. But to Ada, it looked like the most magnificent, powerful machine in the world. She ran her fingers over its cold surface, a profound sense of gratitude and renewed determination washing over her. Now, Ngozi said, placing a small bag beside the machine, I also found some scraps of fabric. Not much, but enough to start. Small pieces, yes, but even the biggest journey starts with a single step. And even a single stitch can begin a masterpiece. Ada looked at her best friend, a lump in her throat. Ngozi, with her unwavering faith and selfless act, had just given her more than a sewing machine and some fabric. She had given her hope. She had given her permission to dream again, to fight for her passion, even when her own family had declared it dead. This was not just a tool. It was a testament to a friendship that saw beyond the dust and into the silk. Months later, Ada had established a quiet routine. Under the cover of night, in Ngozi's small room, she would painstakingly work on her designs using the old foot-powered machine. During the day, she continued to help Mama Naji at the market, observing the flow of people, the fabrics they wore, the colors that caught the eye. She started taking small tailoring jobs, repairing torn clothes or making simple blouses, saving every kobo. With these meager earnings, she would occasionally buy small, discarded pieces of fabric, slowly rebuilding her stash. She poured her soul into these creations, experimenting with unusual cuts, mixing patterns in ways no one in a bins had dared. She started hanging some of her more unique, finished pieces at Mama Naja's stall, tucked away amongst the usual wrappers, hoping they might catch someone's eye, even just for admiration. One sweltering Tuesday, a tourist bus pulled up near the main market square, disgorging a small group of foreign visitors and a couple of young Nigerians with professional-looking cameras. Among them was Remy Okoye, a freelance photographer with a keen eye for authentic beauty and stories. He wasn't interested in the usual tourist traps. He sought the vibrant, raw essence of Nigerian life. As he walked through the bustling market, his lens scanning for interesting frames, his gaze snagged on a flash of vibrant color. Tucked subtly at Mama Naja's stall, amidst piles of plain fabrics, was a striking, intricately patterned blouse. It was unlike anything he'd seen in a typical market stall. The cut was modern, the pattern fusion bold and artistic. It whispered of a talent far beyond village tailoring. He approached Mama Naji, camera still dangling from his neck. "Excuse me, this blouse, who made it?" Mama Naji, initially surprised by the direct question, pointed vaguely towards Ada, who was busy arranging groundnuts. "Ah, that one? My daughter, Ada Ora. She makes these her small designs." Her tone was a mix of maternal pride and a hint of embarrassment, as if acknowledging a frivolous hobby. Remy turned to Ada, his eyes alight with genuine interest. Ada, caught off guard, felt a flush creep up her neck. She was used to dismissal, not this intense, curious gaze. "Hello," Remy said, his voice warm and engaging. "My name is Remy. I'm a photographer. I saw your blouse here, and it's truly remarkable. The design, the way you've blended the patterns, it's exceptional." Ada stammered, "Oh, thank you. I just made it for fun." The familiar habit of downplaying her work kicked in. "For fun?" Remy chuckled, a genuine, appreciative sound. "No, this is more than fun. This is art. Do you have more designs like this?" Ada hesitated, then with a surge of courage, nodded towards a neatly folded pile beneath the stall. "I have a few more pieces. They are just designs I tried out." Remy's eyes widened as Ada unfolded a dress made from an unusual combination of local prints, its silhouette modern yet rooted in tradition. He took out his camera, a professional Canon, and aimed it at the dress. "Ada, would you mind if I took some photos of these? They are really beautiful. I'd love to shoot them for my personal project, Faces of Nigeria. He looked up, his expression earnest. "I genuinely think these deserve to be seen." Ada's heart pounded. This was completely unexpected. A photographer, a professional one, wanting to photograph her designs? It felt like a dream. She glanced at Mama Naji, who was watching with a mixture of curiosity and slight bewilderment. "For fun?" Mama Naji repeated faintly, still unable to grasp the concept of her daughter's designs being worthy of a camera. "Yes, for fun, but also to share beauty," Remy clarified patiently. "It's a way to show the world the incredible talent hidden in places like Abins. No charge, of course. I just want to showcase authentic Nigerian creativity." Ada, her voice barely a whisper, finally managed, Yes, you can. Thank you." A nervous excitement bubbled within her. This was the first time anyone outside of Ngozi had truly seen her work for its artistic merit. As Remy began to carefully arrange her pieces and snap photos, Ada felt a tiny, unprecedented flicker of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, her dreams weren't so foolish after all. The click of Remy's camera wasn't just taking pictures. It was echoing a silent validation she had craved for so long. The days following Remy's impromptu photo shoot at the market were a blur of nervous anticipation for Ada. She knew he was a photographer, but the idea of her designs, born in dusty corners and whispered dreams, being showcased to anyone beyond a bin seemed outlandish. She kept expecting him to forget, or for his interest to wane. But Remy Okoye was a man of his word, and a man with a keen eye for untapped talent. Back in his Lagos studio, Remy had meticulously edited Ada's photos. He saw beyond the humble setting, capturing the raw artistry and unique spirit of her creations. He particularly loved a shot of a vibrant blue and gold dress, draped casually over an old wooden chair, the light hitting its intricate patterns just right. He decided to post a selection of them on his professional Instagram and Facebook pages, tagging them with hashtags like #NigerianFashion, #HiddenGems, and #EmergingDesigner. He wrote a caption that spoke of the incredible talent he'd discovered in a small village, a designer who wove stories into fabric. The initial response was slow, a few likes, a handful of appreciative comments from his usual followers. Ada, who had timidly borrowed Ngoz's phone to check, felt a familiar wave of disappointment. Of course, she thought, who would care about designs from a bins? Then, a week later, something shifted. Remy's phone buzzed incessantly. One specific photo, the blue and gold dress, had caught fire. A prominent fashion blogger in Lagos, known for her sharp eye for authentic Nigerian style, had reposted it with the caption, "This is everything. Who is this designer? Take my money." From there, it exploded. Shares multiplied. Comments poured in, demanding to know the designer's name, where her pieces could be bought. The photo went from a handful of likes to thousands, then tens of thousands, reaching fashion enthusiasts, stylists, and boutique owners across Nigeria, and even beyond. Remy, overwhelmed but ecstatic, immediately called Ada. He found her at Mama Naja's stall, helping with customers. Ada, are you there?" Remy's voice was practically shouting through the phone, a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Remy? What is it? Is everything okay?" Ada asked, a knot forming in her stomach. She'd never heard him so agitated. "Okay, Ada, it's more than okay. It's gone viral. One of your designs, the blue and gold one, it's everywhere. Fashion bloggers, influencers, everyone is talking about it. People are asking for your contact, for your brand name." Ada's grip on the phone slackened. "Viral? What does that mean?" The word itself felt foreign, too grand for her small world. "It means your designs are blowing up. People love them. And Ada, listen to this. A major boutique in Lagos, Kayomabi House of Style, they just sent me an email. They want to meet you. They want to see more of your work. They want to potentially stock your designs." Ada's mind reeled. Kayomabi House of Style was a legend in Lagos fashion circles, an exclusive boutique known for showcasing established, high-end designers. For them to even notice her work felt like an impossible dream. She felt a dizzying mix of elation and terror. "Lagos," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The city felt like a different universe, a place of impossible opportunities and even greater dangers. "They want to meet me." "Yes, you, Ada, this is it. This is your chance." Remy exclaimed, his excitement contagious. "They sent an invitation. For next week. You have to come." Ada ended the call, her hand trembling. The market sounds faded into a distant hum. Viral. Lagos. Kayomabi. It was all happening too fast, too unbelievably. She looked at her hands, calloused from years of stitching, hands that had sketched in the dust. Could these hands truly be capable of something that had captivated so many, even the prestigious Kayomabi? The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. The biggest hurdle, she knew, wouldn't be the journey to Lagos, but the reaction of her family to such a forbidden dream. The invitation from Kayomabi House of Style lay like a ticking time bomb hidden beneath Ada's few carefully saved fabrics in her small, shared room. It was formal, elegantly printed, and carried the weight of a dream too big for a bins. The date for the meeting was set for the following Tuesday. Panic and exhilaration warred within her. How could she possibly go? Her family, especially Papa Naji, would never allow it. The last memory of his fury, the shredded fabrics, was a fresh wound. She spent days wrestling with the dilemma. Every time Papa Naji cleared his throat, or Chika mentioned a new legal case, Ada's stomach churned. The very idea of telling them about the invitation felt like inviting a storm. She knew their reaction would be swift and brutal, frivolous, irresponsible, shameful. One sweltering afternoon, Mumai Naji was tidying Ada's room, a rare act given Ada's fierce protectiveness over her few possessions. Ada was out helping Ngozi with her mother's pepper stall. Mumai Naji's hand brushed against the hidden envelope. Her fingers, accustomed to feeling fabrics, recognized the crisp, foreign paper. Her curiosity, usually subdued, won out. She carefully pulled out the invitation. Her eyes, which rarely held anything but quiet resignation, widened as she read the elegant script. Kayoma B. House of Style. Lagos. Adora Naji. Meeting. Designs. A slow understanding dawned on her face. She remembered the way Ada's eyes lit up when she spoke of her designs, the way she clung to every scrap of fabric. She also remembered the crushing disappointment in her daughter's eyes when Papa Naji had destroyed her work. When Ada returned home later that evening, Mama Naji called her into her small, clean kitchen. The air was thick with the scent of dinner cooking, but an unusual tension hung between them. Adora, Mama Naji began, her voice soft, almost a whisper. I was cleaning your room today. Ada's heart seized. She found it. Her face paled. Mama Naji held out the elegant envelope, her expression unreadable. What is this? Ada's voice trembled. Mamai, it's an invitation. From a boutique in Lagos. They saw Remy's pictures. They want to see my designs. She braced herself for the inevitable lecture, the disappointment, perhaps even tears. Mama Naji didn't lecture. She didn't cry. She simply looked at Ada, a deep, knowing look that spoke of a lifetime of suppressed dreams. Lagos is far, Adaora, and expensive. How will you go? Ada shook her head, tears pricking her eyes. I don't know, Mama. I can't ask Papa. He would never allow it. He would be furious. He would say it's a waste. Mama Naji was silent for a long moment, stirring the pot of stew. Then, she reached into the pocket of her wrapper, pulling out a small, worn leather purse. From it, she extracted a wad of crumpled Naira notes, carefully smoothed them out, and pressed them into Ada's trembling hand. This is money I have been saving, she said, her voice barely audible. For a long time. For a rainy day. Or for a dream. Her gaze met Ada's, firm and unwavering. Your father, he will not understand. He will be angry. But this is your chance, Adaora. If you do not take it, you may regret it for the rest of your life. Do not tell him. Do not tell anyone in the family. Just go. Ada stared at the money, then at her mother. The unspoken support, the quiet defiance against Papa Naji's will, was a powerful, unexpected force. It was an act of profound love, a mother's silent rebellion for her child's happiness. Mama, thank you, Ada choked out, tears finally spilling down her face. Mama Naji simply nodded, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching her lips. Go, and show them what Abins can do. Show them what my daughter can do. That night, Ada packed a small duffel bag, not with clothes, but with her most cherished designs, carefully wrapped in clean cloths. The money from Mama Naji felt like a sacred trust. The fear of her father's wrath was still a cold knot in her stomach, but it was now overshadowed by a burning ember of hope, fueled by her mother's quiet courage. She would sneak away at dawn, embarking on a journey that felt both terrifying and destined. Lagos. The name itself hummed with a dizzying energy, a cacophony of ambition, noise, and ceaseless motion. Ada had only ever seen the sprawling metropolis on television, a vibrant, chaotic blur. Now, standing amidst its pulsating heart, clutching her duffel bag, she felt a profound sense of awe and overwhelming vulnerability. The motor park, with its incessant blare of horns and the shouts of touts, was a universe away from the quiet, dusty paths of Abins. Skyscrapers pierced the hazy skyline, a stark contrast to the small mud houses she knew. She clutched a crumpled piece of paper with the address of Kyoma B House of Style. The journey had been long, hot, and filled with a creeping anxiety. Every passing taxi, every jostling crowd, felt like a potential threat. Her village clothes, though clean, suddenly felt utterly out of place. She felt like a tiny fish in a massive ocean, utterly alone. Eventually, after several nervous inquiries and a bewildering bus ride, she found herself standing before Kyoma B House of Style. It was an imposing building, sleek and modern, with large glass windows showcasing mannequins draped in exquisite, avant-garde pieces. A doorman in a crisp uniform stood by the entrance, making Ada feel even smaller and less significant. She took a deep breath, clutching her duffel bag as if it were a shield, and pushed open the heavy glass door. Inside, the air was cool and scented with expensive perfumes. Soft jazz music played, a stark contrast to the street's roar. Displays of shimmering fabrics and intricate designs lined the walls. It was overwhelming. She felt like an imposter, a tall, impeccably dressed woman with a severe bob and sharp, intelligent eyes emerged from an office. This could only be Kyoma B herself. Kyoma B was legendary in Lagos, a woman who had built an empire from scratch, known for her uncompromising standards and a reputation for being tough, almost unapproachable. "Can I help you?" Kyoma B asked, her voice cool and crisp, her gaze sweeping over Ada's simple attire with an almost imperceptible flicker of surprise. "Good morning," Ada stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "My name is Ada Oranaji. I have an appointment. Remy Okoye sent me." Kyoma B's eyebrows arched slightly. "Ah, the girl Remy has been raving about. I see." She gestured to a small, plush seating area. "Sit. Show me what you have." Her tone was neither welcoming nor dismissive, simply expectant. Ada's hands trembled as she unzipped her duffel bag, carefully pulling out her designs. The vibrant blue and gold dress, the one that had gone viral, was first. Then a flowing kaftan with bold, unexpected patterns, and a structured top with intricate embroidery. Each piece was a testament to her unique vision, meticulously sewn with a mix of hand stitches and the hum of Ngozi's old machine. Kyoma B picked up the blue and gold dress, holding it up, her expression still unreadable. Her fingers, adorned with elegant rings, ran over the fabric, feeling the texture, examining the seams. Ada watched her, holding her breath, every muscle in her body tensed. She anticipated a dismissive shake of the head, a polite but firm rejection. Kyoma B walked over to a mannequin, carefully draping the dress on it. She stepped back, her head tilted, observing it from various angles. The silence stretched, agonizingly long. Finally, she turned back to Ada, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching her lips. This is interesting. Very interesting." Her voice, still cool, held a new, quiet appreciation. "The lines are clean, the pattern play is bold. There's a certain, unpolished elegance to it. It's raw, but sophisticated. Are these all your designs?" Ada nodded, finding her voice again. "Yes, I sketched them first, then I sew them myself." Kyoma B walked over to the other pieces, picking them up, examining them with the same intense scrutiny. "And where did you learn this? You mentioned Abins. Is there a fashion school there I don't know about?" There was a hint of amusement in her voice now. Ada blushed. "No, I just taught myself. From books, from watching, and a lot of practice." Kyoma B put down the last piece. Her eyes, which had initially been sharp and assessing, now held a spark of genuine admiration. "Remarkable, truly remarkable. I receive dozens of portfolios from graduates of design schools every month, and very few show this kind of innate talent, this unique voice. There's a story in your stitches, Ada Oranaji." She paused, then looked directly at Ada. "I want to feature your designs. Not just one or two. A small collection. I will prepare a space for a mini exhibition in my showroom next month. We will market it. This is a big step, Ada Ora. Are you ready?" Ada could only nod, tears welling in her eyes. The tough, formidable Kyoma Bee had just given her the validation she had yearned for, the opportunity she had risked everything for. Lagos, once an intimidating monster, suddenly felt like a gateway to a future she had only dared to dream of. The tough boutique owner, far from being dismissive, had seen the silk beneath the dust. The weeks leading up to Ada's mini-exhibition at Kyoma Bee House of Style were a whirlwind of frantic creation and exhilarating learning. Kyoma Bee, though still demanding, proved to be an invaluable mentor. She didn't coddle Ada. Instead, she challenged her, pushed her to refine her concepts, and introduced her to the practicalities of the fashion business, sourcing quality fabrics, understanding pricing, and marketing. Ada spent long hours in a small, quiet corner of Kyoma Bee's studio, the hum of a professional sewing machine a powerful new symphony. She poured every ounce of her creativity into crafting a collection of 6 pieces that truly represented her burgeoning brand, Dust and Silk. The name had come to her one night, reflecting her journey from sketching in the red dust of Abins to meticulously weaving designs that felt as luxurious as silk. It was a defiant nod to her humble beginnings, and a promise of what she was becoming. The day of the exhibition arrived, and Ada was a bundle of nerves. The showroom was elegantly set up, her design spotlit against a minimalist backdrop. The blue and gold dress, the one that had started it all, was prominently displayed. Kyoma Bee had invited key figures from the Lagos fashion scene, influencers, and loyal clientele. Ada stood awkwardly in a corner, dressed in one of her simpler creations, feeling the familiar prickle of inadequacy. She watched as people drifted by, occasionally stopping to examine a piece, sometimes whispering amongst themselves. She couldn't tell if their expressions were appreciative or critical. The fear of failure, the echoes of her family's scorn, gnawed at her. "Ada, you did it!" Ngozi burst through the door, her face beaming. She had taken a day off from her village work and traveled to Lagos just to support Ada. Her presence was a comforting anchor in the sea of polished strangers. "These are incredible. Look, people are loving them." Remy arrived shortly after, camera in hand, capturing the atmosphere. "See, Ada, I told you your talent couldn't be hidden." The showroom began to fill up. The initial quiet murmurs gave way to a gentle buzz of appreciation. People started taking photos of the designs, posting them on social media. Ada felt a slow thaw in her chest. Then, the moment that shifted everything. A famous Nigerian lifestyle influencer, Kemi Adetiba, known for her impeccable taste and millions of followers, walked into the showroom. Kyoma Bee immediately greeted her. Kemi moved through the collection, her gaze discerning, her expression unreadable. Ada's heart pounded. Kemi stopped in front of a particularly intricate dress, a flowing piece in earthy tones with geometric patterns that hinted at traditional Nigerian motifs but felt utterly contemporary. She examined it closely, then turned to Kyoma Bee. "This," Kemi declared, her voice carrying distinctly in the hushed room, "this is beautiful. The artistry is exceptional. Who is the designer?" Kyoma Bee smiled, gesturing towards Ada. "This is our new find, Ada Naji. Her brand is Dust and Silk." Kemi Adetiba walked directly towards Ada, her eyes warm and genuine. "Ada, these are truly remarkable. I love the story, the fusion of traditional and modern. This piece," she touched the earthy-toned dress. "I must have it. I have an event next week, a televised interview, and I think this would be perfect." Ada felt a surge of disbelief and elation. The Kemi Adetiba wanted to buy her dress and wear it on national television. She stammered out a grateful thank you, her hands shaking as she processed the transaction. A week later, Ada sat in Kyoma Bee's office, watching a large television screen. The interview was already underway. Then, Kemi Adetiba appeared on screen, looking stunning, eloquent, and poised. And she was wearing Ada's dress. The earthy tones popped, the geometric patterns subtly catching the light. Kemi, mid-sentence, gracefully gestured to her outfit. "And for those asking about my outfit," she said with a bright smile, I'm wearing an incredible piece from a new Nigerian designer I recently discovered. Her name is Adaora Naji. Her brand is Dust and Silk. She's truly one to watch." Ada gasped, a hand flying to her mouth. Kayoma B smiled knowingly beside her. Watching her creation, worn by a national figure, displayed for millions to see, was an indescribable feeling. It was not just a dress, it was validation, a testament to her perseverance, a public declaration that her dreams were real. The silence of her family's scorn was finally being drowned out by the roar of public acclaim. This was no longer just a hobby. It was a burgeoning career, unfolding before her very eyes, broadcast on a national stage. Back in Abins, life revolved around predictable rhythms. Papa Naji still held court at the dinner table, recounting his days as a principal, lecturing on real careers. Chika was the golden child, her legal career blossoming in a reputable firm in Lagos, her achievements a constant point of comparison for Ada. Mama Naji still moved with her quiet grace, and Emeka still chased local gossip. On the evening Kimi Adetiba's interview aired, the Naji family gathered around their small, flickering television set in the living room, a rare luxury in their rural village. They were waiting for the evening news, specifically to catch a segment about a high-profile court case Chika had assisted on, which Papa Naji had been bragging about for days. "You see, Adaora," Papa Naji announced, puffed with pride. "This is what true success looks like. Your sister, arguing cases that impact our society, bringing dignity to her family name, not playing with threads and needles." Chika, present for a brief visit, preened slightly. "It was challenging, Papa, but rewarding. The judge even commended my research." Just as Papa Naji was about to launch into another lengthy monologue about Chika's brilliance, the screen flickered and a different segment began. It was a lifestyle program, and there, large as life, was Kimi Adetiba. This woman is very popular," Mama Naji murmured, adjusting her wrapper. Then, Kimi Adetiba spoke of her outfit. "And for those asking about my outfit," she said, her voice clear and bright, "I'm wearing an incredible piece from a new Nigerian designer I recently discovered. Her name is Adaora Naji. Her brand is Dust and Silk. She's truly one to watch." A stunned silence fell over the Naji living room. The clatter of Mema Naji's cooking spoon stopped. Emeka's jaw dropped. Papa Naji, mid-sentence about Chika's court case, froze, his eyes glued to the screen. On the screen, Adaora Naji's name flashed, then a graphic displaying Dust and Silk. And then, a series of quick cuts of her designs, the blue and gold dress, the intricate kaftan, the earthy-toned piece Kimi was wearing. They were unmistakably Ada's designs. The ones she had painstakingly made, the ones Papa Naji had dismissed as rags, the ones Chika had ridiculed as childish fantasies. Papa Naji's face drained of all color. He looked like he had seen a ghost. The pride he had worn moments before evaporated, replaced by a mixture of shock, confusion, and a burgeoning, terrifying rage. His own daughter, the one he had disowned, the one he had forbidden from pursuing her dream, was on national television, being praised as one to watch. "Adaora Naji," he finally croaked, his voice a disbelieving whisper. "My daughter." Chika, equally stunned, tried to recover. "It must be a coincidence. Papa, another Adaora Naji." But the designs on screen were too distinct, too familiar to Ada's style. And the name, Mamai Naji, tears silently streaming down her face, turned away from the screen, her heart a tumultuous mix of profound relief and quiet triumph. Her daughter had done it. Papa Naji's shock morphed into a volcanic fury. He rose from his seat, trembling. This is what she has been doing. Sneaking off to Lagos, bringing shame to this family with her tailoring? After all I taught her about dignity, about proper work. His voice escalated into a roaring crescendo. She has abandoned her family, abandoned her home for this frivolity. This will not stand. I will not have a daughter who defies me, who disgraces our name with such childish pursuits. He strode towards the television as if he could silence Kimi Adetiba, silence the truth. "No daughter of mine will bring shame to this family," he bellowed, his face contorted with rage. "From this day forward, Ada Oranaji is no daughter of mine. I disown her. She has chosen her path. Let her walk it alone." His pronouncement hung heavy in the air, a devastating declaration of abandonment. Mamai Naji wept silently, her earlier joy now overshadowed by the profound grief of her husband's cruel words. Chika, pale and speechless, could only stare, her carefully constructed narrative of family success crumbling before her eyes. For Ada, far away in Lagos, unknowingly basking in her first taste of public triumph, the sound of her father's disownment was a thunderclap that would echo through the very foundations of her success, a bitter betrayal that would steel her resolve, turning her ambition into a silent, powerful form of revenge. The news of Kimi Adetiba wearing her dress on national television, coupled with the viral Storm Remy's photos had ignited, propelled Ada's Dust and Silk brand into the spotlight almost overnight. Orders began pouring into Kayoma B, House of Style. Ada worked tirelessly, often sleeping on a cot in Kayoma B's studio, fueled by endless cups of strong coffee and a fierce determination. Every stitch was a silent answer to her father's dismissal, every successful sale a tiny victory against the echoes of worthless rags. She had learned of her father's disownment through Ngozi, who called her sobbing the morning after the Kimi Adetiba interview aired in Abins. "Ada," Ngozi had choked out, "Your papa, he saw you on the TV. He was so angry. He said he disowns you, that you are no longer his daughter." Ada had felt a cold, sharp pain, a deeper cut than any scorn she had ever received. Yet, surprisingly, it was followed by a strange sense of liberation. The last thread of expectation, the desperate need for her father's approval, had been severed. The tears she shed were not just of hurt, but of a quiet, fierce resolve. "Fine," she thought, "if I am disowned for pursuing my purpose, then I will pursue it with every fiber of my being." This emotional rupture fueled her creativity. Her designs, initially a mix of raw talent and tentative exploration, now gained a bold, unapologetic confidence. She began to experiment more, incorporating deeper narratives into her pieces. A collection inspired by resilience featured strong, structured silhouettes. Another, celebrating transformation, used fabrics that flowed and shimmered like water. Each garment told a story, often reflecting her own journey, the strength found in adversity, the beauty of self-discovery. Kayoma B, observing Ada's evolving strength, was impressed. "Ada Ora," she noted one evening, watching Ada meticulously hand-stitch an intricate detail on a gown, "your work has a new depth to it. It's almost as if you found a new voice, a bolder voice." Ada looked up, a faint, melancholic smile touching her lips. "Perhaps, Kayoma, when you lose everything, sometimes you find what you truly are, and what you truly want." Her brand, Dust and Silk, resonated with customers and critics alike. It wasn't just a clever name, it was a narrative. Magazines began to feature her. Small fashion blogs dedicated entire articles to her rags to runways story, though none yet knew the painful truth of her disownment. Her pieces started gracing the red carpet at smaller Lagos events, worn by up-and-coming actresses and musicians. Each mention, each photo, solidified Dust and Silk as a name to remember. Ada was not just a designer, she was becoming a symbol of Nigerian resilience and untapped potential. The girl who sketched in the dust was slowly but surely emerging, draped in silk. In the bustling, often ruthless world of Lagos fashion, Ada found an unlikely, yet incredibly strong, support system. Kayoma B, initially a tough mentor, became a formidable champion and a surrogate mother figure. She provided not just a platform, but invaluable business acumen, protection from exploitative deals, and firm guidance. She saw Ada's raw talent and dedicated herself to polishing it, nurturing it. "This industry," Kayoma B often warned, "is not for the faint of heart, Ada Ora. It will test you, chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful. You need to be smart, ruthless when necessary, and always true to your vision. Don't let anyone dilute your essence. Remy Okoye remained a steadfast friend and collaborator. He was not just her photographer, he became her confidant, her cheerleader, and her visual storyteller. He captured the essence of each new collection, ensuring her narrative was consistently presented with artistry and impact. He was her reminder of the first spark, the one who saw her when others were blind. Remember where you came from, Ada, Remy would say during a photo shoot, but never let it limit where you're going. That dust in your name, it's not a weakness. It's your origin story. It's strength. And then there was Ngozi. Despite the distance, Ngozi was a constant source of emotional grounding. They spoke almost daily, Ada pouring out her triumphs and anxieties, Ngozi offering unwavering encouragement and the occasional, much-needed dose of village pragmatism. When Ada confided in her about her father's disownment, Ngozi's fury was palpable. He does not deserve you, Ada. Let him be proud of Chika and her papers. You are building a legacy, a real legacy, a legacy of beauty and strength. These three, Kayoma B, Remy, and Ngozi, became her chosen tribe, her new family. They celebrated her successes, picked her up during moments of self-doubt, and shielded her from the harsh realities of the industry. It was this foundation that gave her the courage to dream even bigger. One evening, Kayoma B approached Ada, her eyes alight with a new idea. Ada Aura, there's an opportunity. The Young Global Designers Showcase in New York. It's highly competitive. Only a handful of designers from around the world are selected each year. It's an enormous platform, a chance to truly break onto the international stage. Ada felt a familiar tremor of fear and excitement. New York, the pinnacle of fashion. New York, but I'm still so new. Do I even stand a chance? With your talent, yes, Kayoma B affirmed, her expression serious. But it requires a strong application, a compelling narrative, and a collection that truly pushes boundaries. It won't be easy. Are you willing to work harder than you ever have before, to risk it all? Ada looked at her, then at Remy, who gave her an encouraging nod. She thought of Ngozi, of Mama Naja's quiet courage. She thought of the shredded fabrics, of Chika's scorn, of her father's disownment. This isn't just for me anymore, she realized. This is for every silenced dream, for every creative spirit told they weren't enough. Yes, Kayoma, Ada said, her voice firm, resolute. I'm ready. Let's apply. The application process was grueling, demanding detailed portfolios, business plans, and a philosophical statement about her brand. Kayoma B guided her through the complexities. Remy helped curate stunning visuals, and Ngozi, from afar, provided constant moral support. It was a collective effort, a labor of love from her new family, all invested in seeing dust and silk soar. The application for the Young Global Designers Showcase felt like launching a message in a bottle into a vast, indifferent ocean. Weeks turned into months. Ada immersed herself in designing her next collection, a fusion of traditional Yoruba patterns with futuristic silhouettes, trying to distract herself from the gnawing anxiety of waiting. Every email notification, every unfamiliar number on her phone, sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. Then, one humid Tuesday afternoon, an international courier package arrived at Kayoma B House of Style, addressed to Ada Oranaji. It was thick, official-looking, and bore the insignia of the New York Fashion Council. Ada's hands trembled as she took it from Kayoma B, who watched her with a tense, expectant expression. Remy and Ngozi, who happened to be on a video call, were also holding their breath. Open it, Ada, Kayoma B urged, her voice a low whisper. With fumbling fingers, Ada tore open the thick envelope. Inside, a formal letter lay folded. Her eyes scanned the first few lines, then stopped, her breath catching in her throat. It is with immense pleasure that we inform you that your application for the Young Global Designers Showcase in New York City has been accepted. The word accepted seemed to bloom on the page, luminous and impossible. Ada felt the world tilt. The letter continued, detailing the logistics, the dates, the incredible opportunity to present her collection on a global stage, alongside the most promising young designers from around the world. A choked sob escaped her lips. The letter fluttered from her grasp, landing softly on the polished floor. She sank to her knees, not in defeat, but in overwhelmed relief and profound gratitude. Tears streamed down her face, hot and fast, blurring her vision. It was the culmination of years of ridicule, secret stitches, silent tears, and unwavering belief. Kayoma B rushed to her side, pulling her into a tight embrace. Ada Aura, my girl, you did it. You truly did it. Her voice was thick with emotion. On the video call, Remy let out a whoop of joy, his face splitting into a wide grin. Ngozi, tears shining in her own eyes, yelled, Ada, I told you. I told you. Oh my God, New York. You are going to New York. Ada could barely speak through her sobs, her chest heaving with a mixture of disbelief and triumphant joy. I made it. After everything, I actually made it. She thought of the dusty ground where she first sketched, the destroyed fabrics, the shouting room, Chica's scorn, Papa's disownment. Every single wound, every single challenge had led her to this moment. This was not just a letter, it was vindication. It was the universe affirming that her dreams, once scoffed at, were real, powerful, and now boundless. The girl from Abins was going to New York. The world was about to see the dust and silk born from grit and glory. Life in Abins had continued in its predictable rhythm, largely insulated from the dizzying ascent of Adaora Naji in Lagos. Papa Naji, still convinced of his daughter's frivolous pursuits, had doubled down on his pride in Chika. Every conversation, every gathering was an opportunity to laud Chika's legal career, her prestigious firm, her burgeoning reputation. My daughter, Barrister Chika Naji, he would announce to anyone who would listen, is handling a very important court case next week. It will be on the national news. You mark my words. That is a real career. That is a child who honors her family. He made no mention of Ada. Her name was a forbidden word, a source of private shame he publicly dismissed. Mamai Naji, however, carried the silent weight of Ada's triumphs and her husband's stubborn pride. She prayed for Ada daily, clinging to the hope that her daughter was safe and successful. On the evening of the Young Global Designers Showcase in New York, the entire Naji household was gathered in the living room, along with a few eager neighbors who had come to witness Chika's moment of glory. Papa Naji sat front and center, a triumphant grin on his face. The local TV station was covering Nigerian success stories on the international stage, and Chika's court case was slated to be featured. The television screen flickered, displaying scenes of bustling New York City, then a montage of elegant designs and glittering runways. Papa Naji grumbled, always these fashion shows. So much noise, so little substance. Let's get to the real news. Suddenly, the screen cut to a wide shot of a grand runway, a spotlight illuminating a striking collection of garments. The commentator, a well-known Nigerian journalist covering the event from New York, began speaking with an excited tremor in her voice. And now, a truly groundbreaking collection from Nigeria's very own rising star, Adaora Naji, and her label, Dust and Silk. Her unique fusion of traditional Nigerian textiles with avant-garde silhouettes has captivated the international fashion elite here in New York. The camera zoomed in on a figure walking the runway. It was Ada, not a model, but Ada herself, poised, confident, wearing a magnificent gown from her collection, her face glowing under the bright lights. She had chosen to walk out with her final design, a powerful statement of her journey. The air in the Naji living room thickened with an immediate, profound silence. Papa Naji, who had been mid-sentence about Chika, slowly went pale. His jaw hung slack. His eyes, fixed on the screen, registered pure, unadulterated shock. Adaora Naji, he whispered, his voice a strangled gasp, as if the name itself was foreign, impossible to reconcile with the image on the screen. Chika, sitting beside him, felt a cold dread creep through her veins. Her own televised moment, which she had so eagerly anticipated, was being utterly eclipsed by the sister she had so readily dismissed. She stared, wide-eyed, at the confident, poised woman on the screen, a woman who looked nothing like the jobless and childish girl she had scorned. Mema Naji, who had been quietly fanning herself, dropped her hand. Her eyes welled up with silent tears, not of sorrow, but of an overwhelming, bittersweet joy. Her daughter, her quiet, determined Ada, was on the world stage. The very world that her husband had said would never accept her. The village neighbors, who had gathered for Chica's news, now leaned forward, their expressions a mixture of wonder and disbelief. Whispers rippled through the small room. "Is that Ada Naji, the tailor girl? On the television, in New York?" The screen flashed with close-ups of Ada's breathtaking designs, each piece a testament to her artistic vision and meticulous craftsmanship. The commentator continued to rave about her talent, her compelling story, her unique brand. Papa Naji could only watch, his face a mask of utter devastation. His previous boasts about Chica now hollow echoes in the face of such undeniable, televised triumph. The girl he had disowned was not just succeeding, she was soaring on the world stage, a living, breathing testament to her defiant dream. The next morning, the village of Abins was abuzz. The news traveled faster than any market gossip, fueled by mobile phones and communal viewing of the previous night's broadcast. The girl they all knew as the tailor girl, the one whose dreams were mocked, was now a global sensation. Ada Naji, from their very own Abins, had graced the runways of New York. At the Naji compound, the air was thick with an unbearable, palpable silence. Breakfast was a solemn affair. Papa Naji sat at the head of the table, not eating, his plate untouched. His usual booming voice was gone, replaced by a hollow quiet. His face was etched with a complex mix of shock, disbelief, and a profound, simmering regret. The pride he had worn for Chica now felt like a heavy, ill-fitting cloak. His world, built on rigid principles and real careers, had been fundamentally shaken. Chica, too, was uncharacteristically quiet. She poked at her food, unable to meet anyone's gaze. The sting of her sister's unexpected, undeniable success was sharp and humiliating. Her own carefully constructed achievements suddenly felt smaller. All her pronouncements about childish fantasies and dead ends now sounded bitterly ironic, echoing in her own ears. Emeka, usually boisterous, was subdued, glancing nervously between his silent father and sister. Even he, the youngest, understood the monumental shift that had occurred. Mama Naji, however, radiated a quiet, almost luminous peace. She ate her meals slowly, deliberately, her eyes occasionally drifting to the empty chair where Ada once sat today. There were no "I told you so's," no triumphant declarations, just a deep, inner satisfaction. She had seen it, she had believed it, and now the world saw it too. Her tears from the night before had been tears of overwhelming joy and vindication for her beloved daughter. Later that day, villagers started to visit, not to gossip, but to express their wonder and, for some, their belated congratulations. "Mama Naji, did you see your Ada yesterday? On the TV. Such beauty," a neighbor exclaimed, her eyes wide with awe. "We always knew she had a special touch. Her designs are truly from heaven." Papa Naji could only nod stiffly, unable to form words, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. The laughter, the scorn, the dismissals, they were all coming back to haunt him, magnified by the glare of the international spotlight. The family that had laughed at her dream was now forced to confront the undeniable reality of her triumph, not in whispered village tales, but broadcast for the entire nation, and indeed the world, to witness. The silence at their table was louder than any argument, a deafening testament to a dream that had soared beyond their comprehension and their control. The Young Global Designers Showcase in New York was a resounding success for Ada Naji and Dust and Silk. Her collection garnered rave reviews from international fashion critics, catching the eye of major buyers and influential media outlets. Opportunities snowballed. Feature articles in Vogue, invitations to exclusive industry events, collaborations with renowned stylists. Ada's name became synonymous with fresh, authentic Nigerian design. She moved into a larger studio in Lagos, hired a small, dedicated team, and her clothes became coveted pieces, worn by celebrities and discerning clients across the globe. Despite the whirlwind of success, Ada remained grounded, her journey forever rooted in the memory of the red dust and the whispers of scorn. She remembered the quiet tease of Mama Naji, the unwavering belief of Ngozi, and the steadfast support of Remy and Kayoma B. They were her true anchors. Months later, a sleek, official-looking envelope arrived at the Dust and Silk studio. It bore the seal of the president's office, Abuja. Ada opened it with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Her eyes scanned the formal letter, and her heart began to pound. It was an invitation from the president of Nigeria himself. Adaora Naji, founder of Dust and Silk, was formally invited to represent Nigeria in a high-profile UN culture showcase in Geneva. The letter lauded her as a shining example of Nigerian innovation, resilience, and cultural pride, highlighting her unique ability to blend tradition with modernity and her inspirational rise from humble beginnings. She was to create a special collection, telling Nigeria's story through fabric on a global diplomatic stage. Ada read the letter again, her eyes stinging. A United Nations showcase, representing her country. The irony was profound, almost overwhelming. The nation that her family had deemed too small for her dreams, the country whose cultural heritage flowed through her designs, was now formally recognizing her. It was the highest form of validation, a full circle from the small village where her talents were dismissed as a national disgrace. She called Kayoma B, Remy, and Ngozi. Her voice choked with emotion as she read the letter aloud. Ada! Oh my God! Ada! Ngozi screamed through the phone, tears of joy evident in her voice. This is it. You are truly a queen. Our queen. Remy laughed, a joyous, triumphant sound. From sketching in the dust to diplomatic showcases. Who would have thought? Ada, who would have thought? Kayoma B, ever pragmatic, simply said, This is no surprise, Adaora. Your talent was always meant for this. Now, let us begin. This collection must be your masterpiece. The UN invitation was more than just another accolade. It was a powerful symbol of her transformation. It signified her acceptance not just by the fashion world, but by the very nation her family had claimed she was disgracing. It paved the way for her to return home, not as a defiant runaway, but as a celebrated representative. 3 years. 3 years since Adaora Naji had sneaked away from a bins with a duffel bag full of forbidden dreams and a mother's secret blessing. Now, she was returning. Not in a chauffeur-driven car, not with a flurry of flashing cameras and a media entourage. She chose to come quietly, in a regular bus, just as she had left. She wore one of her own simple, elegant dust and silk designs, a crisp white tunic and wide-leg trousers, a stark contrast to the tailored suits and designer labels that now filled her Lagos wardrobe. The familiar red dust of a bin still clung to the air, settling on everything. The market still buzzed with its unique symphony of sounds and smells. The Iroko tree where she used to sketch still stood. Everything was the same, yet profoundly different. Because she was different, she walked from the bus stop, her small bag containing only a few personal items, her heart a mixture of trepidation and a strange, powerful calm. She passed familiar faces, some recognizing her with startled double takes, whispers following in her wake. The news of the girl from Abins had reached every corner of the village, magnified by the televised New York showcase and the news of her UN invitation, which had even made it to local radio. As she approached the Naji compound, her childhood home, her breath hitched. The gate, the familiar scent of Mama Naji's cooking, the sound of Emeka's laughter from inside, it was all overwhelmingly nostalgic. She pushed open the gate, no longer a timid, frightened girl, but a woman forged in fire and silk. She found Mama Naji in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared dinner. Her mother looked up, and her eyes, always so quick to show emotion, widened in utter disbelief. The spoon clattered from her hand. "Adora!" Mama Naji whispered, her voice barely audible. Her eyes filled with tears, and she rushed forward, embracing her daughter in a tight, desperate hug that spoke volumes of missed years, silent prayers, and unconditional love. "Mama!" Ada choked out, tears finally blurring her own vision. The embrace was warm, real, and more comforting than any award or accolade. It was the homecoming her soul had craved. The commotion brought Emeka from his room, and his face broke into a shocked smile. "Ada, you're here." But the loudest silence was Papa Naji's. He emerged from his study, drawn by the unusual commotion. His eyes landed on Ada, standing tall and poised in his kitchen. The last time he had seen her, he had disowned her. Now, she stood before him, not as a ghost, but as a living, undeniable triumph. His face, usually a mask of stern authority, was a complex canvas of shock, pride, and an undeniable flicker of shame. He said nothing, simply staring, his mouth slightly agape. Ada met his gaze directly, a quiet strength in her eyes, not anger, just a profound, knowing calm. The girl who had left in secret, in shame, had returned, not seeking validation, but embodying it. The news of Ada's unexpected return spread like wildfire through Abins. The next morning, Papa Naji, his face carefully composed into an expression of paterfamilias authority, called a family meeting. The usual suspects were present: Papa, Mama, Emeka, and Chika, who had rushed back from Lagos as soon as she heard of Ada's arrival. They sat in the familiar living room, the same room where Ada's dreams had been ridiculed, where her father had disowned her, and where they had watched her New York triumph on television. Ada sat opposite her father, calm and self-assured, her presence filling the room in a way it never had before. Papa Naji cleared his throat, his gaze flickering nervously between Ada and Chika. He began with a long-winded speech about family values, about children honoring their parents, and about the importance of good upbringing. He built up to the crescendo he had clearly rehearsed. "Adora," he began, his voice regaining some of its former boom. "Your mother and I, we have always wanted the best for you. We disciplined you, yes, because we saw your potential. We guided you, perhaps sometimes strictly, but it was out of love. And now, we are so proud of what you have achieved. It just goes to show, a child with a strong foundation, with proper guidance, can achieve great things. We knew you had it in you all along." Ada listened, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. Guidance. Foundation. The words sounded hollow, tinged with irony. Then Chika, ever the opportunist, chimed in, eager to reclaim some lost ground. "Yes, Ada, I remember telling you, Ada, you're strong. You have to push through. Even when you were sketching in the dust, I knew you had a fierce spirit. My encouragement, our tough love, it all helped shape you, didn't it? It gave you the resilience you needed to face the world." She even managed to muster a performative tear, quickly dabbing her eye. "I always believed in your strength, even if I expressed it differently." Ada felt a surge of emotions: disbelief, a flash of old hurt, and a strange sense of amusement. Their tough love, their guidance, it was mockery, dismissal, and outright disownment. Now, they were attempting to rewrite history, to weave themselves into the fabric of her success. Papa Naji was trying to reclaim her as his prodigal daughter, and Chika was attempting to take credit for Ada's strength, a strength forged despite, not because of, their actions. Mama Naji sat silently beside her husband, her face a mask of quiet dignity, her eyes meeting Ada's with a look of shared understanding and a silent apology for the past. Ada took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over each of them. This was the moment. The truth had to be spoken, not out of anger, but out of absolute clarity. The silence in the Naji living room was taut, charged with expectation. Papa Naji sat poised, expecting a tearful apology, a grateful acceptance of their revised narrative. Chica's theatrical sniffle hung in the air. Adaora Naji looked at her family, the people who had shaped her, not in the way they imagined, but through their unwavering dismissal. She felt no anger, only a profound sense of self-possession. "Thank you, Papa," Ada began, her voice clear, calm, and resonant, utterly devoid of the trembling girl they remembered. "Thank you for the strong foundation. Thank you for the discipline. And thank you, Chica," she turned to her sister, a faint, knowing smile on her lips, "for your tough love and for always believing in my strength." She paused, letting her words sink in, watching their expressions shift from expectant pride to subtle unease. "Because without your mockery," Ada continued, her voice gaining a quiet, firm power, "without your laughter, without you telling me my dreams were worthless, I never would have made it this far." A gasp rippled through the room. Papa Naja's carefully constructed composure shattered. Chica's face went white. "Your scorn," Ada continued, her gaze unwavering as it met her father's. "It was the fuel that drove me. Every time you told me I was jobless, childish, shameful, it solidified my resolve. Every time you destroyed my fabrics, it made me seek out new ones, more fiercely. Every time you told me I would never go anywhere with these rags, it forced me to prove you wrong, not just to you, but to myself." She looked at Chica, her expression direct. "Your dismissals, Chica, taught me true resilience. When no one clapped for me, as Ngozi wisely said, I learned to clap for myself." Mama Naji, tears now openly flowing down her face, looked at Ada with immense pride and a deep, silent understanding. This was the truth she had always known, finally spoken aloud. "You taught me to build my own family," Ada continued, her voice softening slightly as she subtly acknowledged her mother's quiet support. "A family who saw my vision, who supported my passion, and who never once told me my dreams were too big for a girl from Abins. That family believed in the silk, even when all you saw was the dust." She stood up, her posture regal, embodying the very essence of dust and silk. "So yes, Papa, yes, Chica, thank you. Without your initial rejection, I would never have left Abins. I would never have found my true path. I would never have become the woman I am today." She picked up her small bag. "I came back to see my mother and to thank those who truly stood by me. My journey continues, and it is a journey I built, stitch by painful stitch, with the strength born from your very laughter." With that, Adaora Naji turned and walked out of the living room, leaving her family stunned, speechless, and utterly exposed in the silence she left behind. The girl who had been laughed at had just delivered her final, devastating, and triumphant word. Years passed. Adaora Naji became a global icon, her dust and silk brand synonymous with contemporary African luxury and social impact. Her designs graced runways in Paris and Milan. Her collaborations with international brands redefined global fashion. And her voice became a powerful advocate for sustainable practices and ethical production in the textile industry. Her initial disownment from her family, once a deep wound, had healed into a scar that served as a testament to her unbreakable spirit. Despite her international acclaim, Ada never forgot Abins. She often returned quietly, spending time with Mama Naji and Ngozi, who had become her brand's head of community outreach. Remy was her global creative director, and Kayoma B remained a formidable business partner and day friend. One bright morning, the village of Abins witnessed a new beginning. On a sprawling plot of land, not far from the Iroko tree where Ada once sketched in the dust, stood a modern, purpose-built structure. It was the Dust and Silk Academy of Design and Tailoring, founded by Adaora Naji. The academy was entirely free for local youth, particularly young girls, who showed a passion for creativity. It offered courses in fashion design, pattern making, tailoring, and textile arts, all taught by skilled artisans Ada had brought in. It was equipped with state-of-the-art machines, vibrant fabrics, and a library filled with books on fashion history and design, everything Ada had yearned for but never had. The opening ceremony was a joyous affair, attended by local dignitaries, proud villagers, and beaming students. Papa Naji and Chica were present, sitting quietly in the back row. They were older now, their faces etched with the passage of time and, perhaps, the quiet burden of unspoken regret. They watched as Ada, poised and eloquent, spoke about the Academy's mission. "This place," Ada said, gesturing to the vibrant building, her voice carrying a deep resonance, "is a testament to the power of a dream. It is for every child who has been told their passion is foolish. It is for every creative spirit whose voice has been silenced. Here, we will nurture talent, we will celebrate innovation, and we will prove that beauty and purpose can emerge from even the most humble beginnings." As she spoke, her gaze drifted to a group of young girls sitting on the grass outside the academy, beneath the shade of a newly planted mango tree. One girl, no older than 10, sat with a stick in her hand, meticulously sketching intricate patterns in the red dust, just like Ada once did. A profound sense of peace settled over Ada. Her revenge was not in their regret, but in her growth. Her triumph was not just her personal success, but the opportunity she was now providing for others to pursue their own forbidden dreams. The laughter of her family had indeed driven her to the world stage, but her true legacy was the gentle, nurturing space she created, where no dream would ever be laughed at again. The dust had given way to silk, and from that silk, a vibrant, hopeful future was being woven, stitch by beautiful stitch, right back in her own village.